Welcome to the True Grime Stories podcast, where in every episode, we'll unravel a new mystery of cleaning business transformation from a grimy mess to a great success. Join me, your host, Jeannie Henderson, as together we dig up cleaning business secrets that you've been dying to know. Hey there, people out in the residential cleaning industry. Welcome back to True Grime Stories. I'm your host, Jeannie Henderson, and we have got a great interview for you today. We are going to interview one of the owners of one of the biggest residential cleaning businesses in the United States. So you may think that people like that don't have problems, but we all have grime stories. So I'm excited to welcome Ino Padilla to join us today. He is the co-owner of Detail Cleaning Services in Houston, Texas. We interviewed his partner and sister, Emma, earlier in our podcast. So go back and check that one out too. But Detail Cleaning Services, it's a family-run residential cleaning business like many of us. And he operates alongside of his mother and sister, Emma. So Ino served our country in the U.S. Army for 4 years. So thank you, Ino, for that. And then he returned to Houston and helped grow this company after he earned a degree from the University of Houston. So Ino's a dad, a veteran, a husband, an entrepreneur. He's doing it all. And on top of that, he has started an additional business called Outrank Automations. We'll talk a little bit about that. And along with me, he is a cleaning business fundamentals coach. So we want to welcome you, Ina. Welcome. I almost said Ino. Almost gave you the feminine version of your name. But welcome to True Grime Stories.
Thank you, Jeannie, for the invitation. And that was a long introduction. It's hitting me how many things I have going on.
Yeah, you are doing a lot. But that's the entrepreneurial spirit, though, isn't it? Like we do something and they're like, oh, what about this thing over here? Maybe I should try that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I run the business with my sister, Emma, and our mom. And we have another sister, Joanna, who's also in the business.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Wow.
An owner now as well. We have a cousin. So it's a full-blown family business, and it was officially founded by Emma and my mom in 2009, and I've joined 3 years after when I came back from my service in the Army. And yes, that's when everything started. And I was working towards my degree at the time, thinking that my business management degree was going to fix all the problems we were having with the business.
Right. Oh yeah. Here you come with your degree. All right. I know how to run a business now, right?
That was my plan.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of crazy stuff happens in the business world. And there's degrees are great. Nothing against them. I think that any more education that we can get is wonderful from any source. Yes. But it doesn't provide, one type of education doesn't provide all the solutions that a business is going to throw at you, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. That's what I found out real fast, that it didn't teach me how to run a cleaning business, especially.
Yeah. And I had a similar experience. I came out of the restaurant industry after 3 decades thinking I had this all figured out and I was just going to run this little cleaning business and it was going to be so easy and so simple. and it kicked my butt. I mean, I was not prepared because running a cleaning business is very different than running a restaurant business. Just night and day. There are some similarities. There are some things that helped, but I almost gave up. So I think that's why I'm so passionate about this podcast, because I have so many grime stories and I know many of our guests do too. So let's dive into that. So you started working in the cleaning business. What's your role, or what has your role primarily been?
So yes, I've always handled the operational side of the business. So we kind of split it with Emma, and it was more an accident at the time. It wasn't by design. She's like, you know what? I think I like marketing and sales more, so I'll do that. And I like the operation side. I did a little bit of that in the Army. Let me handle the operations. And then now we joke that I ended up with the hardest part of the business, which is handling technicians and the customer service side.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables when you're dealing with people, for sure. They're unpredictable.
My goodness. Yeah, it's been quite a ride. I mean, it's now we just hit our sweet 16 this month in May. We're 16 years with.
Happy birthday. Congratulations on your anniversary. That's huge. That's a long time.
It was.
So you're an old timer in the business now.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So 16 years, a lot has changed over time. How many technicians are you managing? You say you're managing this team. How many technicians are you managing, and what's your admin or leadership team look like?
So we hit the 50 technician mark, and we currently have we're getting close to 10 admin team members.
Wow. Yeah. So that is a lot of different people to manage, and you have to kind of create a lot of systems to do that, because obviously you can't talk to 50 people a day. And I think a lot of times in the cleaning business, a lot of us look at big businesses and we're like, oh, I don't want that, because I'm having a hard enough time managing 3 or 4 people. I can't imagine, leading 50 people at the same time, and then 10, admin people. So that's a lot of different conversations and things like that. So I'm sure you have many layers of leadership, to kind of help share that load. But it doesn't happen overnight, right? We learn a lot of lessons to get to that point. So here at True Grime Stories, we like to start with a grime scene. And I know you have many of them. We were talking about before we started the broadcast today, there's so many, and they keep coming. Unfortunately, everybody, bad news, but grime scenes don't stop happening when your business grows. There's just new ones.
Yeah, never ends. It's so true that it's devil at every level.
Mm-hmm.
Problems popping up.
Yeah, we were talking about it's a little bit like a game of whack-a-mole sometimes,
cover one, and then there's another one, and there's another one. So it's an never-ending thing. For sure.
Yeah, but it gets easier, right? Once you start to experience some things.
It gets easier when you find the right systems, and then you find the right people. You put the right people in the right spots. That's when it gets easier. That's when the time freedom and money freedom comes in.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, and it takes a little while to get there, but, being able to manage that through systems makes all the difference. Okay. So let's think about a grime scene. When I talk about that, think of a moment in time when, you were up against something that you weren't quite sure how you were going to get on the other side of it. What grime scene pops into your mind? What's a moment in time in your business or a period that you were really challenged in your business?
Other than COVID, I'm going to say this is probably 2019 when Katrina, not Katrina, it was a Harvey hit Houston.
Oh yeah,
and it pretty much paralyzed the whole city. It flooded the whole city really. So not having at the time, we didn't have the right systems. We were barely surviving paycheck to paycheck. Sometimes we would go some weeks when there was a disruption to the business, or a bad weather day that we weren't getting paid. Emma and my mom, and so yes, the first memory I have where we had a major crisis with my business is our business. Harvey hit Houston, and it was a major event. It was a catastrophe in the city, and we were already
hard to watch from here.
Yes.
Just we can't in Michigan can't imagine what it's like to go through something as devastating as that hurricane and what it did to your communities. Just devastating.
Yes, we were already in survival mode at the time. We didn't have any systems in place, at least that made sense. And we were paycheck to paychecks. We would go already some weeks without paying ourselves. We would pay the technicians, obviously. So
Oh
when
my
that
goodness.
happened, it was just it just made it so much worse. It almost put us out of business.
Oh, that just makes my heart hurt. And as business owners, it's amazing how long we'll like not pay ourselves. And we'll just keep running the business and showing up every day and working really hard. There's no employee that's going to do that like an owner will, but we keep doing it. So yeah, that's a grime scene. Like, and crisis happens. We never know when it's coming. Sometimes we have a little warning, like a hurricane, or it's just like a rolling storm, like COVID was. But you in Houston have gotten through probably more crises than most of us out there. But how did you do it? And I'm sure we can learn from this because we all are going to have one at some point. We're all going to have a big storm hit us, whatever that looks like. So share with us, what was that like? What was happening in your business when Harvey?
Going back to that example is, we've always had each other, with, Emma and our mom and my other sister, and that's supporting each other and being positive and being the face of optimism with the team. And now that we're in CBF, we have a larger community we can fall back on and ask for help. So we just stay positive, and we just pushed it through sheer grit and just hard work.
Yeah. And how long were you shut down through that process?
I want to say at least 2 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
At least 2 weeks. We were pretty much shut down. It took us probably, I want to say, at least 2 months to fully recover from the hurricane.
Right. Well, when a crisis like that happens, especially, a weather related crisis or some other kind of disaster, not only could you be out of power, not being able to get to work, but now your employees might not be able to get to work or work. And then your clients might not have power. They might have damage, all of that. So it's so compounded. It's not like just your office got hit. Everyone that's part of your business is hit. So, I love that staying positive thing, because if you just sat there and said, oh, woe is us, you might not be here today. I mean, to go without income for 2 whole weeks when you already were kind of challenged in that regard beforehand, and then to get took a whole 2 months to get back to normal. A lot of people wouldn't have survived that. Yeah. And we saw that. I'm sure some cleaning businesses didn't survive in your community then. But in COVID, we also saw that the people who just waited for it to get better instead of taking action were the ones who didn't make it. But then the ones who do grow and thrive afterwards through it. So what are some steps, like walking through it, remaining positive, so important. What are some other steps, like getting through a crisis, getting through a disaster? And even now, when you guys, you still have hurricanes coming at you, unfortunately. How do you handle that? Do you have systems in place now to prepare for things like that, since you kind of are in the hurricane alley?
Yes, for sure. We have systems in place. And now, because of, thankfully, the size of our business, like last year we had a hurricane who came through the city, and we had to shut down for a few days. We can handle those punches a little better. But, just being in communication with our technicians, when that's what's going on, staying positive, being the face of optimism with them. Communicating with clients, getting our clients. One thing we did this last time is when we knew the hurricane was going to hit, we rescheduled the clients to earlier in that week to not lose that So,
Oh, that's smart. Right. So watching if you know something's coming, start backfilling your
yes.
schedule, right? We do that when the snowstorms come. We do the same kind of thing when we see snowstorms coming now, but we had to learn the hard way,
Yeah.
losing a bunch of revenue the first few times that we went through that. But it's nothing, our snowstorms aren't anything like the hurricanes that you guys go through. All right. So backfilling your schedule, kind of strong communication. What kind of training are you doing with your team to prepare for when these things happen, since you are more in the way of, that happening to you?
Yes. Now we have, a field manager who was recently promoted to a service division manager. So she's trained to, always play it safe.
Mm-hmm.
We usually just follow like the school system. If they're shutting down, we're shutting down ourselves. So that's the first part of the training. So she's
Mm-hmm.
monitoring the weather, and when that comes, she always plays it safe. And then with the customers as well, we're reaching out to customers. I remember we did something with that helped us a lot. I think it was during Harvey. We asked our customers to pay for the whole service for the year to support our business. That was very helpful with cash flows.
Okay, so let's dig into that, because I bet a lot of people haven't thought of that strategy, but I've heard of people doing this. So tell us about that. So, like when you were shut down for a period of time, then is that when you went out to the clients with the offer?
Yes, when you shut down, customer starts canceling, obviously as well. So we'll reach out to them. Like obviously, it's we put it how it's going to help us,
Mm-hmm.
stay afloat during this time. If you're able to do it, we would really appreciate it. Just a simple email, and you'll be surprised how many people say yes. So that was really helpful at the time.
So people were prepaying the rest of the year or 12 months.
Correct.
Okay, great. And were you giving them any kind of incentive to do that, or just basically like tugging at their heartstrings and saying, this is helping us keep our team employed? What was that messaging like?
Keeping our team employed. There was no incentives. We even asked for sale. I remember for wire transfers to not pay the credit card fees. We went even that far.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. I mean, every penny makes a difference at that point. And so that makes a big difference. We've done similar things like that. We did that during COVID, asking some people to prepay. But what that does is it sets you up to have some cash flow, and it can add up pretty quickly. I'm not sure in your market, but the average client is today bringing in anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 a year. So, if 10 clients do that, now you have $50,000, that at least you can kind of live off of in that period of time going, until you can get up and running again. So that is another great strategy. But yeah, this is a really important message, I think, for people in the residential cleaning industry to learn, because we get so caught up in the grind that we don't think ahead too much, right? We're like so focused on like what's in front of us today and not thinking, well, what if something goes wrong? How do I prepare for that? So I love that you brought this up, because it's going to happen to all of us at one time or another, and we never know when it's coming. Sometimes it happens to the whole country. Sometimes it's just in our community, but we can be prepared. I love this, having a plan. So let's take a break here. This is a great story, Thank you so much. And we're going to talk a little bit. I'm going to share a message about our sponsor, Cleaning Business Fundamentals, and then we'll come back. Is your cleaning business a grime story? There's no need to stay stuck in the muck, because you're not alone. With over 500 active members and more than 500 graduates of our Cleaning Business Fundamentals program, CBF is the #1 cleaning business academy in the world and has created more mop-free millionaires than any program in the industry. Learn more and let CBF take your residential cleaning business from a grime story to a gleaming success. Welcome back, everybody, to True Grime Stories. I'm here with Ino Padilla, the owner of Detail Cleaning Services in Houston, Texas, and he's been sharing with us about surviving crisis in your business. This is something that we're all going to have to deal with, so listen closely, and I hope you're taking notes, but let's jump right back in. So, Ino, thank you so much for sharing your grime scene with us. I think this is such an important thing for cleaning business owners to think about. And I'm sure you guys have probably survived many of these crises over the years.
Yes, the crisis without seeing any profit for many years, for really 10 years from 2009 to 2019, when we started investing in our learning, we saw very little profit. Like I mentioned already, paycheck to paycheck. I always joke with some of my coaches of the times when I was running the business, and I was so terrified sometimes of opening my phone and seeing the messages from the previous night because of how many of my employees were calling in and the puzzle that I had to solve for that day. So, yeah.
Yeah, that gives me goosebumps because I can relate to that 100%. Like and I'd kind of forgotten about that, but remembering like how I hated for my phone to make a sound, like, because it just meant I had another problem to solve. I had another issue, and so having a plan for all of those situations really sets you apart. It's the difference between people who survive a crisis and those who don't. Number one is just going into it head first. In cleaning business fundamentals, we call that being a buffalo, right? Like charging into the storm instead of running away from it. Number one, that's so important. Remaining positive, you shared that. We can always focus on all the bad things, but if we focus on the good things and we help our team members focus on that, I think it does so much good if you can encourage your team because they're scared too, going through stuff like that. Have you done anything like that, like things to help your team members get through things like the hurricanes and stuff like that personally for them?
Yes, every time that's happened, we've been, very, very supportive. I remember we had the freeze a couple of years ago where we almost froze to death here in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
That was another.
We get a lot of stuff.
Yes. So I remember a lot of our technicians, without power, and unfortunately ourselves were without power. So part of what we did is we paid them for a few days of work. When COVID happened as well, when employees were leaving, were wanting to quit left and right. One of the smartest things we did with Emma, looking back on it, and we always remember this, is that we decided to pay them out of our pocket, really, to not lose those employees. So anytime that there's a catastrophe like that, we always think of, okay, how can we help our employees, to stay afloat themselves, because they're obviously suffering. Most of us live paycheck to paycheck. So yeah, thinking about that and doing anything you can to help them out makes a huge difference.
That's so great. And a lot of times, we aren't prepared for those situations financially to be able to pay people or whatever. One of the things that I learned in some of my previous experience was having a contingency fund. Some people call it an emergency fund, to have some extra money set aside and maybe even have it in a separate bank account so you're never tempted to spend it. But to have, try to have 1 month of business expenses and then maybe 2 months and then maybe 3 months of business expenses. And some people even say 6 months of business expenses. But even if you have 1 week of business expenses that you can set aside, that is helpful to ensure your business in a time when a crisis happens.
For sure.
But that's a really good point, is to take care of your team. And so what does your plan look like? You said you start watching, you watch for things coming, and where you're located, you do get warnings often ahead of time. So you're notifying clients, you're notifying employees. And then as you're going through the process, are you, you know, creating new systems, learning new things, and changing what you've done before? Have you gotten better at it over time?
Yes, for sure. I mean, one thing is, we don't make it as big of a deal. Maybe we're just used to it. We're numb to it. But I remember, 10 years ago, anytime we had to shut down, it was just a major headache, and we would wait till the last minute to make the decision to, shut down for the day. And now it's just more like, all right, we just need to make it happen. But really, it's just not, stressing over it, and like you mentioned, being having a savings for it, an emergency funds for it, is just very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that it's part of business. It's just
Right.
part of doing business. And a lot of times I think the way you talked about it, like a lot of people treat it like, oh, it's an emergency, running around with their hands flailing, like, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. But if we just know that some of this stuff is going to happen and having a plan for it, thinking ahead, what are the things that could go wrong? What happens if somebody breaks, a major expensive item in a client's home? What's your plan? What if the power goes out in your entire city? What's the plan? Like thinking through, even 5 or 10 things and then creating a small plan, it sets you up for success. A lot of us don't do it until it happens and then we have a plan for the next time, which that's kind of how I've done it. But it's also taught me and our team to then start creating plans ahead of time for all other kinds of things that can go wrong.
Yes, absolutely. So not again, just not just knowing it's gonna happen. I think that's for us. Like we actually just we're going through a scenario right now where we have a technician who a previous former employee now might be possibly stealing our homes, stealing clients. And then we also have another situation that we're going through where there's this client who's she sent us an invoice for a $6,000 repair for damage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it just comes with it. It just comes with the job. It comes with what we sign up for it.
Exactly. As entrepreneurs, we're always getting into these situations where we're constantly problem solving. But it's good to think about what could those problems be and be ready for them. And the bigger you are, the bigger the target you are. So how many homes are you serving regularly now? What's your recurring client list look like?
So we've surpassed the 900 of recurring clients.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, we're shooting for our goal is for 1,100 by the end of the year. Let's see if we can make it happen.
Well, I believe that you will. You and Emma and your whole team are a shining light in the industry and a great inspiration to all of us. And thank you so much for sharing, this really important piece of information that a lot of us don't spend the time thinking about until it's upon us, right? So that is so helpful. So what does your life look like today? So now that you're on the other side of, not being profitable, dealing with crises, all the growing pains. What is life like today for you and your family now that you have systemized your business? You now have literally 2 other businesses, Outrank Automations and your CBF coaching business. What's that look like for you today?
So part of what, fixing our system, especially for us, it all started when we joined CBF and fixed our systems, and slowly we started creating that time freedom and some financial freedom. So with my family, I have my 2 younger boys are on the autism spectrum. So they're the ones who are my inspiration, and it's what drives me every day. And we're with my wife, we've always wanted to homeschool them as part of what we've been working really hard towards. So she's in the corporate world, and she's actually about to stop working, and we're going to homeschool our boys.
Oh, that's so great that you have the choice and the freedom to do that. That's really huge blessing. And it doesn't come by luck. It comes by hard work and intentional planning and all of that. Well, congratulations on that for sure. Now, did Outrank Automations, your second business, did that kind of spring out of your business and the things that you created for your own business? And now you're kind of doing that for other business owners?
Yes. So it started with when we were hitting that, 30 technician mark, and we started struggling with employee turnover. As we started growing, and we were really struggling to. We would go up to like 40 technicians, and then we'll drop back down to the lower 30s, and we had a retention issue, and I'm always looking for solutions. What are we doing wrong here? What do we need to do? And it started with figuring out that we don't have an onboarding system. Our onboarding was orientation day, training week, and that was it. That's when everything ended. And we implemented a full-blown onboarding system with automations and videos, and we were able to immediately surpass our technician goal of 40, and then we're hitting the 50s, and by the end of the year we're shooting for 60 cleaning technicians with this onboarding system that we have in place. One thing to figure out is once you get them to that 90-day mark, the odds of them being with you for a couple of years increase by 65%. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. Well, and I encourage everyone who's listening to go check out Outrank Automations. But that's another grime scene that you were in, and you found a solution, and now you're able to help other business owners with it. So that's really exciting. And then also you're CBF coach, but the really cool thing about what you're doing, is that you're serving our Spanish speaking community. So tell us a little bit, we have a couple more minutes to talk about, how you're serving the Spanish speaking cleaning business community.
Yes. So I started translating some of the modules, the essential modules in Spanish. And I've been helping our Spanish speaking community, and I love it. I find it rewarding. I shared with you earlier that I see my mom in a lot of the members I'm coaching, and it's bringing a lot of satisfaction to what I'm doing, and I'm loving it so far.
Well, congratulations. And we're so glad to have you as part of our CBF coaches community, serving our Spanish speaking community. And now we're also serving our Portuguese speaking community. So it's great. And I know it's making a huge difference in the lives of those business owners and everyone in their business. So that's great. You're having a lot of impact. Well, Ino, I can't thank you enough for being part of True Grime Stories today. Before you leave us today, what's something that you really want people to know who are out there, whether they've been in the cleaning business for a while or they're just getting started? What's one of the things that you keep telling yourself, or you found that telling yourself helped you get through?
So, if you would have asked me 6 years ago that I would have been able to help transform our business and grow to where we're at now and where we even see ourselves going, I would have been like, get out of here. That's crazy. Just believe in yourself and also keep investing in your learning. I think for us, that's when it started as well, when we started investing in our learning, in ourselves. And another thing is knowledge. A lot of people think that knowledge is power. And throughout school, I remember seeing those signs, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily true. Taking action on knowledge is what's powerful. So take action in what you're learning, whether you're reading or learning through programs like CBF, and that's what pays off.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've kind of learned all of those things too along the way, but it's important to hear because so many people consume so much knowledge, but do they do anything with it? And that's the thing. That's what makes the difference between somebody growing a big, one of the biggest cleaning businesses in the United States and not being able to, ever get profitable. Those two different I see a lot of people who struggle. They know a lot of things, but they aren't really taking action. So that's so great. Well, thank you so much, Ino. It's been a great pleasure having you here today. Thanks for being part of True Grime Stories.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it's so great. And looking forward, we might have you come back and talk about your onboarding system sometime. But until then, to our whole audience out there, I can't thank you enough for your support of True Grime Stories. We have more people downloading every single day. So be sure, subscribe, download, and share this with somebody you care about. And if you want to know more about cleaning business fundamentals, check out our show notes. There'll be links there where you can get connected. You can schedule a free call with me, learn about Ino's businesses as well. So we hope to see you next time on True Grime Stories. Until then, bye everybody. That's a wrap on today's True Grime Stories. Thanks for joining us in uncovering the secrets of cleaning business success. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and download, and check out our show notes for links and info from today's episode, and to learn more about our sponsor, Cleaning Business Fundamentals. Join us next time as we solve another True Grime story.